Fiancé ghosted me, married my dumb cousin, and my aunt rubbed it in my face. Now he's broke and jobless, she kicked him out, and I took all our savings. I, 28F, have been engaged to Ron, 27M, for a year. We had known each other since our college days. We were friends but not very close. We started dating after our college days, and since then we have been together for 4 years. Last year, we got engaged. We held a small ceremony with close family and friends. My aunt was also invited. My aunt and her daughter, Lucia, 24F, have been living with my grandparents since her husband passed away a few years back. Ever since she attended my engagement, and was impressed by my ex's charm. She told everyone how handsome and rich he was. She couldn't stop praising him. It was unusual because she hadn't been so fond of me. Her daughter, Lucia, is dead drop gorgeous, but she is dumb as a stone. And always compared the two of us in all aspects. I was good at studies. Though she was 4 junior to me in academics, and would compare our report cards and remark how her daughter was better than me. The funny part was when she compared her 8th grade card with my 12th grade and declared her to be better than me. Joke's on her, Lucia couldn't pass high school. Ron and I were planning our wedding in October because I had to visit the UK for a summer program. Everything was fine between us when I left in June. We used to talk once a day because of the time difference. It was a 10-week program. 2 weeks into this, it started getting cold between us. I asked him what's the matter. He didn't say anything straight, just stalled it saying he was stressed due to work. I thought the distance had taken over our feelings. I didn't take it seriously because it was not a new relationship. I thought of sorting out the matter after going back. A week before my program ended, he ghosted me. Damn. It felt so childish to me. I mean, whatever the thing is, he could have confronted it, but he chose the easier way and vanished. There's something about me. Call it ego or whatever. I don't run behind people. I'm not that good of a person. No matter how much I get hurt, I don't put my guard down. His ghosting felt like a gut-wrenching, yet I didn't show up at his door. Yes, I was in my delusional world that he would come knocking at mine. He didn't. Instead, my aunt showed up at my door with a wedding invite. I got to know he was getting married to my cousin, Lucia. WTF. In the age of emails, she comes up with a printed copy of the invite. She wanted to witness my disappointment firsthand. That was one of the very few moments in my life where I was caught off guard. I was in shock. It was more of how. How could he fall for my cousin who barely can pay for her meals? But soon enough my aunt helped me with the answer. She goes, "I'm so sorry, sweetie. I can understand your pain, but what can we do when people fall out of love? Maybe he couldn't handle the distance. Don't be mad at your sister." Ron was the one who reached out to Lucia for a coffee because he had nothing else to do after work. You know how gorgeous my princess is, you can't blame Ron for falling for her. I looked at her with red teary eyes. You see, usually, I don't entertain my aunt and cut her off in between, but this time I was so shocked that I couldn't say a word. All I did was stare at her and take her mean, sugar-coated insults. She said, "Trust me, honey. I love you as much as I love Lucia." I yelled at her when she told me about Ron, but he came down at my place and politely confessed his profound love for Lucia. You know how humble and sweet a man he is. My heart instantly melted for him when he went down on his knees and asked for Lucia's hand for me like an old school gentleman. Tears rolled down my cheeks as I imagined Ron doing everything she described. She tried to hug me, but I blocked her. I wiped my tears and stood up saying I had something to attend, so please leave. She was like, "If you're intending to contact Ron, don't do that. He has blocked you." I made him do so. "It doesn't look good that my son-in-law contacts his ex, you know," I said. "Fuck you and your son-in-law. I've got a lot to do in life than poaching others' man." She stood up and said, "Don't be disheartened, my baby. I can understand if it would be tough for you to get another man at this age and with these looks, but don't worry, there are plenty of divorced men looking out for a second love in life. I'm sure you'll find one such good man." I yelled, "Get out." I badly regret losing my composure and giving her the satisfaction of watching my vulnerability. But that's okay. We all have weak moments in life where we just can't hold ourselves together. This news was way more painful than the ghosting thing. I'm not saying it would have been easy if he cheated with any other woman, but it would be a lot better than this. I would have cut him off and be rest assured to never meet him again, but now who knows? My aunt can show up anytime to rub her daughter's prize on my face. Everyone in the friends and family knew about me and Ron. Now I feel stupid for having a pompous engagement. Now that he's getting married to Lucia, the story is evident to everyone as to what has happened in the background. My aunt has been weaving a different story, that Ron found solace in Lucia because I was too headstrong and egoistic and I prioritized my career over him. She told everyone that Ron didn't want me to go to the UK for the summer program, yet I went there and stopped talking to him. She went as far as saying that Ron suspected me of hooking up in the UK. He heard some guy's voice from the background whenever he called me and stuff. I've never been in touch with most of my relatives after moving out from home. Even as a teenager, I was distant from them because I didn't like their small talk. Hence it was easier for my aunt to sell off her lies. It feels so terrible. I know all those golden lines that it happened for the best. I got rid of the cheater. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but you know what, when you're in the middle of the dark phase, it's just impossible to sail through it even though you know everything is gonna be okay in a while. Update 1. Hello, and thanks for cheering me up in my original post. I've been intending to update this for a long time. I was like, the day I don't feel anything for my ex, I'm gonna make an update, and here we are today. Indeed I got better, and there's a cherry on the cake. Wait for that. That phase was really dark and long. Not that I didn't go through a breakup before, but this was horrible because he was my fiancé. My mom dropped by for a week and it kinda helped me have her by my side. However, I felt sick to my guts the moment she left. I was with Ron for so many years that every place brought back his memories. Enough reason for me to leave the city. I applied for jobs in the UK and got a very promising one in Leeds. Nothing like it. I packed my bags and left. Pro tip from me, if anyone is struggling to move on from a broken past, nothing heals better and faster than a change in scenery. Yes, only if your situation. I understand not everyone has this leverage to move out from their base. See, if you could. Anyways, moving to Leeds felt like I was reborn. I was amazed at how quickly I moved on. It took a better turn a few days ago when my mom called and asked me if Ron was unemployed. I said, yes he was. I mean, not unemployed, but he left his job a year ago to pursue his passion for writing. There's an interesting thing. Ron wanted to be a writer and he was writing stuff here and there but was not getting anywhere amidst his full-time job. So, I stepped up to help him build a career around writing. We had his agreement that I would work full-time while he would set up a ground of entrepreneurship, and eventually, I would leave my job and we both would work to set up our own enterprise. Sounds fascinating, right? Yes, but he fucked up. Mom laughed so hard when I told her these details. She said that aunt came to her the other day and screamed, "Why didn't you tell me that Ron is a bum?" Mom was confused because the last she knew he was working and quite well off. Mom said she had no idea about this. Aunt told Mom that Ron was insisting Lucia take up a crash course which would land her a better paying job so that she could bear the household expenses for both of them. He wanted to execute that plan with Lucia. Little did he know that my aunt got him married to Lucia so that they both could live off his income. Well, jokes on both of them. The last I remember, Lucia worked part-time as a receptionist in a restaurant taking table reservations. Not sure if they both would be able to live off a receptionist's income. I might be sounding mean to look down upon Lucia for her profession. Well, I'm not, or maybe I am. I don't care. I wish I could see the disappointment and anguish on my aunt's face when Ron's truth came out. There is one more layer to this. Aunt was a mistress to Lucia's dad, and when he died his legal wife kicked them out of the house. That's why Aunt was living with my grandparents. They are feeding on the pension money of my grandparents, and sometimes my dad and my uncle help them out financially. Lucia has always been a dimwit kid. She doesn't like to work. Neither she is capable of. She failed twice in high school and ultimately dropped out. That receptionist job she got was also because of my uncle. He referred her to his friend's restaurant. Nowadays, even a receptionist job needs a high school diploma. If you think karma is served, not yet. After I was done sulking, it was time for action. When he was still at his job, we together bought a trust fund that we intended to use later for our business. I had all the access to that trust fund because I managed our finances. I was putting money in that every month. I would say 20% of the money in that trust fund was his. I liquidated all that fund when I got to know about his cheating. He has no clue that the fund doesn't exist now. He is still delusional that he would get the money from there because he told Lucia that once my anger subsided, he would reach out to me and get his 50% of the share from the trust fund. Delusional he. If you think I'm a fraud. Well, I am not, because I had spent an equivalent amount of money on Ron on his bad days. After Ron left his full-time job, he was struggling hard to get any writing gigs. It was difficult for him to make ends meet, so I gave him access to one of my spare bank accounts where I was putting some money for his monthly expenditure. I supported him through all my means. I think what I did is fair. Had we been married, I would have got alimony. This trust fund was close enough because we were almost married. Now I'm wondering about his future plans of entrepreneurship. He has no savings and no job. Not my problem anymore. Update 2, here's the next update. This Christmas has been delightful. I got the satisfaction of seeing the disappointment on my ex's face. I went home and my ex came knocking at my door. He was here asking for his trust fund money, and that too he demanded 50% of it. I said, which money? He said he had put his savings in the trust fund which we intended to use for our business. I said, oh, that trust fund. I liquidated it. He flipped out, how could you do that? We had kept that money aside for our business. Now, what are we going to do about it? I said, excuse me, there is no we here. You are my brother-in-law, and the person you should be calling we is right across the street. He took a deep breath and said, look, I know I have hurt you and you have all the right to be mad at me, but I need that trust fund money. I don't have a job. The client for whom I was writing has offboarded me. I'm hunting for another client. Lucia doesn't earn enough for both of us. I haven't paid the rent for the last 2 months, and if I default for one more month, the owner has threatened to lock me out. Please understand my situation. Why the hell should I understand your cheating ass? Remember what you did to me. He said his cheating doesn't give me the right to whisk away his money. I screamed, your money? You owed only 20% of the trust fund. He yelled, whatever, I want it back. I said, remember the money I gave you for your monthly expenses. What about that? I have taken your 20% share of the trust fund and made it even. He was awestruck. Now he was calm and said I had spent that money on him as his girlfriend, so I shouldn't claim it. In that logic, he gave me the trust fund money when he was my boyfriend, so he shouldn't ask for it either. He threatened to sue me for eating up his share. I said if does that, I'll also press the charges of card theft because he used my debit card to withdraw the money from his monthly expenditure. I reminded him that if we sit and calculate who owed how much, then he might land up in debt, so he better watch his tone and suck up the truth. He stormed out with a bitter face. If this encounter was not enough, my aunt and Lucia showed up at my parents' house, looking for me. They were here to ask me about the trust fund money. Ron had told them that I took away his share of the money and now he has nothing left. He was broke. I said it was none of their business and that I would not discuss my matter with them. Lucia still pestered me to tell her because her future was at stake. I said this concept is beyond your understanding. So better stay away from it. My aunt yelled at me for insulting Lucia and said that I should lower my ego while talking to Lucia because she's more accomplished than I am because Ron left me for her. My dad came to my room upon hearing my aunt's voice. Aunt mellowed down on seeing him. She said she was casually talking to me about his distress. Dad said he heard everything and if she dared to raise her voice again at me, he would cut her off all financial aids he has been giving to her. He said he regretted not meddling in my business earlier because that gave my aunt a free hand to humiliate me. But not anymore. Dad told her if Lucia is so accomplished then let her help Ron in running the house and save themselves from getting locked out of the house. Apparently, Aunt and Lucia didn't know about Ron's poor financial condition and about the default in rent. She was shocked. She started sobbing in front of my dad saying that Ron had ruined Lucia's life because he could not provide for her. She was worried about where would they live if the owner actually locked them out. She requested I release Ron's share of the trust fund so that he can put his life together. My dad said he was proud of me for standing up for myself and laughed at Aunt for going behind my back and wooing Ron for Lucia. She should have thought about the consequences before pimping out her daughter. Aunt started crying that she did everything to secure her daughter's future. My aunt changes color at lightning speed, depending on the situation. She said, Lucia doesn't have a father to have her back like you have. Neither she is educated like you to earn for herself, so I have to look out for her. I thought Ron was the one who could take care of my daughter, but see, my poor girl's fate betrayed her. Lucia broke down at this and said, you could have told me that Ron was unemployed but you let your sister marry a bum, but I'm not blaming you for that. You have your own reason for hiding the truth. My dad stood up and asked them to leave. They were the ones who went behind me to poach my fiancé and then came to my house to rub her daughter's hunt on my face. Now when things are falling apart, she is blaming me for hiding Ron's truth. WTF. While they were leaving I said, don't worry for Lucia. There are plenty of sugar daddies out there waiting to shower love on girls like Lucia. I'm sure you both can find many. That was very mean of me to say this. Told you I am not that good of a person. BTW, she was the one who started this humiliation when she came to rub her daughter's wedding invite on my face. I don't know what happened after that. I wished I recorded her when she was calling Ron a bum. He deserved to know what his mill and wife thinks of him. Nonetheless, if she could call it in front of us, she could do it on his face. It feels satisfying. Update 3, Ron mailed me saying how badly he has screwed up. He borrowed money from his friend to pay the due rent, but he defaulted again because his client delayed the payment of his writing gig. The owner gave him the notice to vacate the house. He requested my aunt to let them live for a few months, but my grandparents refused to let them in. Ron didn't know that the house was not of my aunt. They lied to him that it was Lucia's house and my grandparents were living with them when the truth is otherwise. Bunch of liars. He said Lucia also lied about her education and her job. She told him she was working as a manager in the restaurant. She lied to him about her salary as well, and that's why he thought he would follow the business plan with Lucia. I'm amazed at how could he not sense Lucia's dumbness on their dates. I mean, did he even talk to her before getting married, or was it just the booty call? He said he has given up on his dreams of writing and is seeking for a job relevant to his earlier experience. I ignored his email. A few days later, he mailed me again saying sorry. His first email didn't have sorry in it. He said he was sorry to betray me and that's why his life has been so badly screwed. He said my aunt had taken Lucia with her and said she could not let her daughter live with a loser. For the aunt, I know she is well capable of doing this and Lucia would follow her mom like a puppet. She has no mind of herself. I'm sure she didn't love Ron. She might have followed her mom's plan to allure Ron and get him. It makes me wonder the power of beauty. No matter how much we advocate gray matter, beauty does have an edge over all the intelligence of the world. The best of the minds fall for beauty, isn't it? However, I'm in no mood to forgive Ron or get back to him. He is apologetic now, but he is a cheater and once a cheater, always a cheater. His life might be in a disaster and some of it may be because of me, trust fund thing, but I don't regret it a bit. I was fair to myself. He made a wrong choice and he has to abide by it. I responded to his email telling him not to contact me ever again and blocked him. I wanted to tell him that once he got a better paying job, my aunt would drop Lucia at his place. But why would I pacify him when he crushed my soul by cheating on me with my cousin? His misery is no more than a gossip to me, which I discussed it with my mom with a good laugh. She said she was now feeling satisfied that karma had knocked down all of them. Now on to the next story. Story 2. GF won't stop acting like Gollum after watching Lord of the Rings and calls my private part precious. I hated it at first, but now we're both doing it and can't stop. Her parents caught a Smeagol. Hi guys. This all started when my girlfriend, 21, and I, am 24, started watching the LOTR movies. Since we both had never seen them before. We have seen the first and second now. She started crawling around the house like Smeagol and Gollum since we watched the second movie. It started as a joke, but she doesn't stop. She keeps grabbing at my clothes like Gollum does in the movies. Sometimes even grabbing my crotch and calling it my precious. It makes me feel super uncomfortable and I don't know what to do. She has also grabbed raw meat and fish out of my hands while I was cooking. I don't think it's funny anymore. I have told her before it makes me uncomfortable and she told me she'd stop. But she doesn't stop. I really don't know what to do. I don't want our relationship to end like this. Comments. Vivkshans asked my BF if he would leave me if I acted like Smeagol and he said I already do. Fractal Factor. Maybe she is just subtly asking for you to put a ring on her finger. Yeah, he might not want to take her to a volcano after giving her a ring, then again. Update. A quick summary for those who haven't read my previous post. After watching the first 2 Lord of the Rings movies, my girlfriend, 21, wouldn't stop acting like Smeagol. I complained how she crossed my boundaries a couple of times and that I was afraid our relationship would end because of this. I've read all your comments and I came to the conclusion that it was just lighthearted fun. After making the post I started seeing the humor in it. We have watched the 3rd movie and we both really enjoyed it. So what did I do? She continued acting like Smeagol for the last weeks, and yes, there were still moments where it made me uncomfortable. Like the constant referring to my member as my precious, but I was able to brush it off. As the comments suggested, I tried out Smeagoling her. So when she would behave like this I would do it back. I assumed this would make it stop, but no. It made it worse. We've had moments where we couldn't stop laughing because we kept interacting like Smeagol to each other. This is fine and funny and private, but because we started doing it all the time it became something that would happen in public too. Like when you do something ironically you can't stop doing it after a while. We were having dinner with her parents and we were talking to each other in Smeagol voice. Her parents were both in the kitchen. Her mother came over to ask me something and I accidentally replied in the Smeagol voice and it was super awkward. My girlfriend now makes fun of me for that. Which is fair, I guess. After all, this story has a happy ending and I think I like my girlfriend even more now. Comments. Cosmonavler 1961. Waiting for the next update to be, help, I got carried away as Smeagol and bit my GF's finger off and she broke up with me. How do I get her back? Anyway, happy for you op. Godbox 1227. She calls his penis my precious. She is never breaking up with him, ever. Anyway, happy for you op.